All right, guys. So last week was a hell of a week. Um, Working with Power Hungry, doing their marketing stuff, handling all their social media stuff, working events with them, and we've got some outrageous sales goals with the Hydro Chip tuner that we want to meet and beat. And so we were having our quarterly meeting Friday, and somebody asked what Diesels and Dark Corners was, and I have been attending Diesels and Dark Corners for 15 years. First time I flew out for Diesels and Dark Corners, I was working for a company called Alligator Performance, based out of Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, and we sponsored the event. And Chad, the owner of Alligator, wanted me to fly down, make sure that we were getting our money's worth, making sure that our signs were where they were supposed to be, making sure that we were getting mentioned the way we were expected to be mentioned. And so I flew down 15 years ago for the first Diesels and Dark Corners, and it was very small, but it was a good time, great crowd, very respectful event. And so I kind of explained all that to Angela and Bill at Power Hungry, and they were like, "Well, should we be there?" And I was like, "Yeah, absolutely, we should be there. It's close, it's local, it's an awesome show. Huge manufacturers show up there. Fleece Performance is one of them. Fast Fuel Systems has been there for many years. We're huge fans of those two companies. In particular, BD Diesel has been there a bunch. We love selling their turbochargers. Their exhaust manifolds are great." And so we kind of finished up the meeting on Friday, and it ended in Angela purchasing an airplane ticket for me extremely last minute. Spent the weekend getting ready for the trip because our booth was stuck in Phoenix, Arizona, because prior to this meeting we had been doing the Power Hungry American Shop Tour, where we drove from Atlanta up to Tennessee. We hung out with the guys at Full Force Diesel there, great group of guys, toured their new facility, bounced over to Kentucky to see our buddy Dennis Perry at TS Performance. I know everybody thinks TS and Power Hungry hate each other because they make a similar product. In fact, Dennis and Bill are very good lifelong friends, and I've known Dennis for 20 years. Just being in the industry, I used to attend the TS event when I worked at Alligator every year. And we attended the TS event when I worked at Leadfoot Diesel. Leadfoot Diesel was a huge sled pulling company. That's what the company was built around, was sled pulling. And so got to stop and see Dennis in Kentucky, and then we bounced up to Bryan, Ohio, and went to see the guy Corey and Brian at CNC Fabrication. Super cool company, awesome shop, beautiful little town up there in Ohio. It's where the dum-dums are made. It's the big, giant candy factory up there. So we went from Bryan, Ohio, all the way through Indiana, Illinois, Wisconsin, the corner of Iowa, hit South Dakota right as Sturgis was happening, so that was pretty cool to see all the bikes out there. Got to tour the Deadwood Tobacco Company there in Deadwood, and bounced on over through Montana, saw our buddy Cody in Montana, and then we went on to Spokane, Washington. Got to tour the Diesel Power Products. It's actually an old match factory, which is super freaking cool. Like, if you've never been to Diesel Power Products in Spokane, Washington, go check them out. Brian is a super good friend from many, many years ago. I used to be a customer of his back when I was a technician working in a diesel shop. I would go buy parts from him and then go install them at the shop. So got to catch up with those guys. We went from Diesel Power Products in Spokane down to Oregon, and we attended the No BS OBS truck show. And the whole reason for this tour was to show off the mobile cigar lounge that Power Hungry is building out of their old bus. And people kind of look at me cross-eyed like, why is that a thing? Well, Power Hungry Performance doesn't only build a Hydra, and that's something a lot of people don't know. They also have the Fickum tuner for the 6.0 Power Stroke, and there's going to be a new Fickum tuner coming out very soon. So keep an eye out for that. We'll be reviewing it here at Review Diesel. We'll probably be the first ones to ever have it in our hand. And they also make the Orion Reflash system, and the Orion Reflash system will work on any International Navistar engine, DT series engine from 1994 to 2007. And we'll put a list in the comments below of what engines it does and doesn't work on. And the Orion reflash system is what we bought the bus to do R&D for the Orion reflash system. And so it's like we had it. What do you do with it? We had the idea of building a mobile cigar lounge. So the whole tour was going around, seeing all of our dealers, seeing some new dealers, seeing some potential dealers, and basically have them on the bus, share a cigar, share a bourbon, have a good time, chillax, shoot the breeze. And so the tour ended up going from the No BS OBS truck show in Oregon down to Santa Rosa, California. We attended the West Coast Diesels, sled pulls, and truck show. Had a great time with those guys there. And as we pulled into Santa Rosa, the steering on the bus was becoming extremely dysfunctional. So the guys there at West Coast Diesels slapped a new steering box on it for us. And we made it from Santa Rosa to Phoenix, and the steering was uncooperative again. Power steering was non-existent as we pulled into Phoenix. So we kind of limped the bus into the Freightliner dealership. They told us it'd be a couple of days to get parts, so we just decided to camp out in Phoenix for a couple of days. And we hung out with the guys from Strictly Diesel. We got to go to dinner with them, tour their facility, watch their CNC machine work. Super cool. Went from Strictly over to KC Turbos, about an hour away, and got to tour the KC Turbos facility the next day. And every day the shop's updating us, telling us what's going on with the bus. And it ended up, the parts didn't come in. There was other parts that they needed that had to be ordered. And so finally it became very realistic that we couldn't just sit around in Phoenix for a week and wait for parts. So I ended up flying home. Bill and Angela drove their RV home. We left the bus out there. So here we are 3 weeks later, and now all of a sudden there's this one last huge event of the year that I'm very familiar with. Power Hungry had never attended it, and so definitely never attended as a sponsor. We used to sponsor it every single year when I worked at Leadfoot Diesel, and so it's an event that's a lot of great memories for me and my wife and kids. Like, our kids literally grew up at this event, Diesels in Dark Corners, playing on trailers, playing tag, playing hide and seek in the dark, and so just a lot of great memories out there at the Liberty Truck and Tractor Pulls is who puts the event on. And so I flew out to Phoenix at 5 a.m. on Monday. We landed a little after 10 after our plane got delayed a couple times. Ubered over to KC Turbos. We grabbed the bus, shot some really quick video with KC Turbos for some of their content that they're creating. And one of my best friends, Joe Cooey, flew out there with me. He's also one of the owners of Review Diesel and kind of a quiet financial partner in the background. He's been on a couple of our lives. And you'll probably see more of him here soon. But Joe and I flew out there. He just flew out to keep me company, so I didn't have to drive home alone in a big old bus. And we drove from Phoenix, Arizona to El Paso, Texas on the first day. So hit the road around noon, got to El Paso at about 8:30, stopped to grab dinner. We intended to drive till midnight. We were just exhausted because we got up at 4 a.m. So we ended up crashing around 9:30, 10 o'clock there in El Paso, got a hotel. Next day we got up at 7 a.m. and drove. We didn't really have a choice that day. We had to be in Jasper, Texas that night in order to drop off our good friends Paul and Chris from Complete Performance. Had left their booth tables and their tent in our bus when we left No BS OBS Truck Show. And so I had to drop that stuff off. I didn't have a choice, and I had to be back here in Georgia on Thursday to set up the booth at Diesels in Dark Corners, and the booth was in the bus. So we drove from 7 a.m. to 1:30 a.m. on Tuesday, arrived in Jasper, Texas at 1:30 a.m. Wednesday morning, grabbed a hotel, crashed out, got up at 7, grabbed some breakfast with Paul and Chris, went back to Complete Performance. We got to tour their facility and see all the stuff they've got going on. And they actually sent us home with a ton of parts to review, so stay tuned for that. Some really cool OBS upgrade parts as far as like guys that are restoring OBSs. So we got some brand new headlights. Mine have faded from sitting out in the sun for too many years. So they sent me home with a brand new set of headlights, a brand new set of tail lights, all 3 of their third brake light options, which is going to be a really good video. There's this crazy transmission issue that happens on specifically 7.3s, when you change out the third brake light to an LED third brake light, it screws up some circuitry that third brake light shares with the TCM. So Chris did a really good job of explaining that, so we're gonna make a whole video about that, so check it out. But anyways, we left Complete Performance around noon, and we arrived back here in Georgia sometime around 1 a.m. My phone was dead. There's no cigarette lighter plug-ins on a 40-foot international bus, so I took a dual battery with me with an adapter and a USB plug, and that's how we were charging our phones on the way across Texas. And so that battery died somewhere in Louisiana. So coming through Alabama, my phone was dead. I don't know what time we got home, but all along the trip, I'm still having to do my regular job. So Joe would take turns driving. I would do all my social media and marketing stuff for Power Hungry, all my social media stuff for Review Diesel, and it was just a very hectic, unplanned trip. But we made it back in time. Thursday morning, I crashed out for a couple hours and then got up, and David and I drove down to White Plains, Georgia, and set up the booth. We filmed it, did a full, really cool time-lapse video of us setting up the booth, so that was super cool. And then we ended up just staying down there, and well, I jumped ahead. I skipped Thursday, so we got home 1-something Thursday morning. I went to bed at like 4:45 Thursday morning by the time I got done with all my social media stuff, and got up at like 10 a.m. on Thursday, and I had to unbury our booth in the bus. It was in the back of the bus, covered in thousands of t-shirts and Rubbermaid totes. So I had to pull all the totes off the bus, pull the booth out of the bus, load the booth into my truck, load as many of the t-shirts as I could fit in my truck. Then I had to reorganize and put everything back on the bus. And by the time I got that done, it was 5:30 at night. So I was supposed to go down and set the booth up Thursday night, but it was so late by the time I got done reorganizing the bus, we just skipped it and decided to go down Friday morning and set up the booth. So Friday morning, David and I got up, drove down to White Plains, Georgia. We set up the booth. That's when we did the time-lapse video. Had a good time playing around with that, and David got to see his very first sled pull event, and kind of got a little bit spoiled because this is like one of the most gangster sled pull events in the country. There's some good ones. Shides, TS is no longer, but Shides Diesel Extravaganza puts on a pretty good sled pull event. It doesn't touch this one though. Friday, 195 tractors and trucks hooked to the sled, and it's only diesel, so none of that dumb noisy gas crap that gets mixed in at other sled pulls. I'm a diesel guy through and through. Gas does nothing for me. It's just obnoxious. But this is a great event because it's all diesels, nothing else. Got to see some great carnage. Turbos exploding, fireballs shooting into the air. It's all in this video. So we hung out Friday night till about 9:30. It was cold. We were not getting a lot of visitors. They kind of changed up the sponsor area. So in years past, you had to walk through vendor row to get to the food, and this year they changed it and put us in this back corner. So we got almost no visitors Friday night. I was pretty bummed out with that because I'd already talked the event up to Bill and Angela and told them how great it was. And we get there just to find out all the vendors are stuck back in a corner, and got almost zero foot traffic Friday night. Saturday, we devised an evil plan, and I took the chick magnet known as Groot, my 200-pound, year-and-a-half-old Great Dane, and it worked. Our booth was covered in visitors all night. Everybody wanted to see the dog, and so that was a good little distraction that we planned. And we ended up selling like almost $1,000 worth of merch that night, so that was awesome. Did not really think it was going to go that well after Friday night was so slow. We sold some of the bourbon smokers that Angela's uncle made for us for Power Hungry. I took a bottle of bourbon and some bourbon glasses down there and did demonstrations. Everybody loved it, so we actually sold some of those. That was cool. And we just had a great time talking to fans that showed up to watch the trucks, talking to some of the pull truck drivers, owners of the trucks. Just crazy how far people travel for diesels and dark corners. You know, we had people there from Canada, people from Wisconsin, Colorado, Texas, Louisiana, Missouri. So just a super mixed bag of people that came to show off their trucks, compete. It is a sanctioned event, so they are pulling for points there. And educating some of the people that didn't understand how sled pulling worked was fun too. You know, all the different classes and how the sled works and how the weight box comes up faster and how much weight they add for different classes. It's frustrating when you sit and listen to the people in the stands and they're like, oh, well, that truck beat that truck, and not even understanding that that truck was in a completely different class. The weight box was moving slower for that truck. There was less weight in the box for that truck. So a little bit of sled pull education. We had an opportunity to do that. We had an opportunity to talk to people about the Orion reflash system. A couple of folks out of North Carolina stopped by the booth, and they have a fleet of international trucks, and they were super interested in the Orion reflash system. Talked to a ton of different people about a hydrochip tuner. Answered even some technical questions about the hydrochip. People that had bought it, installed it, wasn't working, told them what they were doing wrong. So all in all, it was a great show. I'm so glad we went and got the bus. It was a lot of hours. I think I logged like 87 hours that I worked last week, but totally worth it by the end of the event. And breaking the booth down Saturday night, you know, we had a lot more help than when we put it up. So my wife came down, and Crystal from Power Hungry came down and helped. Her boyfriend came down and helped. So many hands make light work. So we were able to get the booth wrapped up in about a quarter of the time that it took us to set it up. And pretty chilly that night as well. So we sold pretty much every long sleeve shirt and hoodie that we took with us. Did a lot of planning for next year too. So more hoodies, more long sleeve shirts, more shirt diesel specific and not 7.3 specific. We lost a lot of shirt sales because people didn't want a Power Stroke shirt because they drove a Dodge or a Duramax or what have you. So just education. Every time we go on the road, every time we do a show, we learn, we adapt, we overcome, have better success the next time. So that's what it's all about. And I hope you guys enjoy this video. David did a really good job of filming these trucks. Never been to an event like this before, so he had a blast with it. The main reason for this voiceover was to let you guys know how hard it was to make it to this event, all the effort and energy that went into being there, getting the booth set up very last minute. I mean, we were setting up at noon, and the event started the gates opened at 10 a.m. So we were there at 10 a.m. setting up the booth. I think we had our first visitor around 12 o'clock, 12:30. So it was super, super last minute, but we did it. We had fun with it, and everybody came out enjoying the weekend. So we hope you guys enjoy the video, and let us know if you want to see more videos like this. If you got a sled pull truck, let's see it in the comments below.
decision. Take that right.
Google some boiled peanuts. Some things are good. Brent Hamilton, ladies and gentlemen, out of Battle Creek, Michigan. 1995.
Mr. Moki. That'll be our next competitor. I believe the Scots out of the state of Ohio. They'll have a couple trucks in the competition here. We'll see Mr. Moki and Miss Moki coming in our lineup here tonight. Of course, all the lineups determined by the luck of the draw. Lowest number goes first, so on and so forth. And as we're seeing here tonight, it's great track conditions. Really no advantage hooking early, hooking late. The classes that we've seen here so far as that sun starts to make its way down here, moisture working its way up in the track here tonight.
20,000 pounds to Mr. Mark Scott. Come on,
Scratch here tonight, so we're going to leapfrog past the Bulldog Mafia and we'll move on to Tim Camp's Inventory Liquidation. Going to be our next puller up. He'll be followed by Albert Brown's Back in Black and then Dave Greek with the Pressure Time. Our next three coming up is another cab over making its way to the start line.
Alright guys, so wrapping it up here. This video is something new for us. We did not plan this. This was just circumstance. Happens, whatever you want to call it. Like, we planned nothing around attending Diesels and Dark Corners. So we did that to help our friends at Power Hungry Performance. David had the bright idea to capture some footage for Review Diesel, just very on the fly. Really, he just wanted to do the booth setup and tear down thing for Power Hungry, and then it's like you're stuck there, so you might as well videotape some trucks. So we came up with the idea of doing Review Diesel Motorsports. We have to go to these events all year, every year anyways. So if you guys enjoy this kind of content and you want us to make more videos like this, let us know in the comments below. And if you don't like this video, let us know in the comments below. We're going to do what you guys enjoy, not what we enjoy at the end of the day. So we're here to entertain and educate. So if this is entertaining and you guys love it, we'll do some more of these. If you prefer the education, just let us know in the comments below and we'll stick to what we're good at. So look forward to your comments.